So we've landed the straight. What comes next? The Southpaw triple attack is a straightforward approach to kickboxing offense. We combine the straight, the body roundhouse, and the high kick to force our opponent to make decisions. If our opponent keeps the guard high, we thump the body. If our opponent drops the guard low, we can land the straight or the high kick. The real goal, though, is to induce an outside slip of the straight, which can lead to a kill shot with the high kick. Taking away one strike opens up opportunities for others. This is a real-life concept usually employed by Southpaw kickboxers with a strong rear leg roundhouse. Let's discuss how to implement it in the game and the promise and limitations of this approach. First off, why is it the Southpaw triple attack? Why not just the triple attack? The rear roundhouse kick is more powerful and fluid than the lead leg roundhouse kick, which requires a switch step. However, in the closed stance matchup, body and head roundhouses have a slight problem. The opponent's back and lead shoulder often get in the way of a clean connection to the abdomen or head. You see, a fighting stance creates an open side and a closed side of the body. It depends on the stance. It's the right side for an orthodox fighter and the left for a southpaw. The same side as the opponent's rear hand. When both fighters are orthodox or southpaw, they are in what is called a closed stance. When one is southpaw and one is orthodox, it is called an open stance. In the closed stance, lead kicks thrown above the waist land better. In the open stance, our more powerful rear roundhouse land truer. The Southpaw triple attack might better be called the open stance triple attack, as it will work just as well for orthodox fighters, but typically Southpaw fighters have better move levels on their rear kicks, and often the straight punch as well. Can you use this strategy in a closed stance matchup? Sure you can. It's just a little less effective. UFC 5 gives you a 10% damage bonus for round strikes on the open side of the body. You lose that, but it's not the end of the world. Head kicks don't get a damage bonus, but you will find that they catch the shoulder occasionally on the closed side. You can still use them, but they're going to be a little less efficient. The best fighters to implement the triple attack with are not pure southpaws, however. They're switch stance fighters. Any fighter with a high switch stance is going to be an excellent choice, as you can switch stance freely to find the angle for the roundhouse. But of course, there are a few issues with implementing the triple attack. First of all, our opponent may circle away from our power side. This takes a lot of steam off of our kicks. We can use our footwork to cut them off, push them back into the path of the kick, or we can switch to other weapons, such as the lead leg kick or lead hooks to the head and body, to get them going the right way as well. The second issue is with range. The triple attack is not an all-purpose strategy. It's a long-range concept that needs to fit into your overall striking plan. It will fail badly in boxing range. You have to use your own boxing and counterpunching to get a little space before it can be implemented. We also can't throw it from too far away. Kicks are terrible when thrown moving forward. Good footwork and range management are key. The appeal of the triple attack is in the way it can simplify your long-range offense. There are a huge number of potential moves and combos you can throw in UFC 5. It can feel like cooking a meal with way too many ingredients at hand, leaving you unsure what to leave out. The triple attack is like cooking with 3 ingredients. Pares down the variables so you can focus on combining them in the right way. You can start by just firing off a straight to gauge reactions, then mixing in straight body kick and straight head kick to start getting some heavier damage in. Feint the straight into the kick. Straight, then feint the kick to keep from being too predictable. This is an important step because players will just fire off a hook after your straight if you predictably follow up with a roundhouse. Just because it's the triple attack doesn't mean you can't start off with a jab or lead hook before comboing into the straight and then the roundhouse. Mix up your timing and shot selection to keep your opponents off balance. When you combine counterpunching, good footwork, takedown defense, and a heavy left leg, now you're starting to cook. These are the ingredients for Mirko Cro Cop. Man, do I wish I were Mirko. But we do have one more major problem. The triple attack just doesn't work that well. It's weak, it's lackluster. 80% of the time it works, none of the time. It's a bunch of trash. The core of UFC 5 striking consists of two things: high-volume pressure boxing and counterpunching to beat the high-volume pressure boxing. Everything else is just a supplement to that. When I made my leg kicks video, I was honest about it being an underrated tactic, but that's because it punishes head movement, which makes it easier to swarm without getting countered. The triple attack is a cool concept about playing three powerful weapons off each other, but it doesn't fit this high-volume approach. Each weapon in the triple attack needs to be a cause of concern for your opponent, but each one is just a bit too underpowered in UFC 5. In real life, the straight punch is a dangerous weapon. A flush cross can floor an opponent or change the fight. In UFC 5, the straight is more of a power jab, an annoyance that slowly builds up damage over time. The body roundhouse should be a fearsome weapon. In real fights, even a blocked roundhouse can be effective because it beats up the forearms, sometimes even breaking them. In UFC 5, it is trivially easy to catch the body roundhouse. The timing is very forgiving. A caught kick isn't the end of the world, but when it happens nearly every time, you're losing stamina and giving up cage position, with the possibility of a takedown or cut from an elbow. The irony of body damage in UFC 5 is that it's not that strong, yet most players are obsessive about blocking low when they see a kick coming. So the head kick should solve that, right? It's the ultimate weapon. Headshot dead. No. Don't get me wrong, the head kick can cause serious damage, but unless your opponent moves into it, they'll likely eat it until very late in the fight. But if our opponent gives us the head kick, we can just spam it till they fall, right? Duck counter. The asymmetry between the head kick and the duck counter renders the high kick unspammable. The head kick might hurt your opponent, but sometimes it won't. A properly timed duck counter will either end the fight in a flash or cause some severe damage. A head kick merchant, therefore, must be a riverboat gambler. One solution to this conundrum is just to box our opponent up so thoroughly that they're left flinching every time our shoulder twitches. A discombobulated opponent can be easy picking for kicks. But is that really the triple attack? Setting up kicks with punches is smart striking, of course. But if we're 99% pressure boxing and 1% kicking, we're not really doing the triple attack. We're a boxer who sometimes finishes our opponent off with a kick. Well, I won't give up on the triple attack that easily. I must be Mirko Cro Cop. We need to expand the triple attack to keep our opponent off balance. Behold one last time the beautiful simplicity of our three-pronged fork. We must muddy it with a bit more complexity. We're looking for additional rear leg kicks that can chain off of the straight. I have 4 in mind. The ducking roundhouse is an alternate rear leg roundhouse kick. It has a slight built-in evasive movement at its startup. The head comes off the center line. If it evades a straight punch, it's quite nice, but that's not the reason why I include it. It's there to cause a little more hesitation in your opponent's defensive reactions. At a glance, this doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. The ducking roundhouse and standard roundhouse are both round rear leg kicks. Both are evaded the same way. Why should the ducking roundhouse complicate things for the defender? It's important to realize that you do not react to strikes when they're about to hit. You react to the startup animation of a strike. Here is where the decision is made. The ducking roundhouse has a different startup. Someone looking for the standard roundhouse kick may hesitate for a fraction of a second longer when they see this animation, especially if they've already seen several roundhouses from you. Of course, it's not harder to react to this animation than the other, but every player will bias their eyes towards looking for certain moves, consciously or unconsciously. The ducking roundhouse is an easy way to add a little more info for our opponent to worry about without changing our own strategy in a complicated way. The question mark kick is also a rear leg roundhouse kick, but it does have some unique properties. It's designed to look like an up-the-middle body kick that switches to the head at the last second. While this may occasionally deceive a player, in practice, most recognize it as its own animation. The question mark kick is slower, which is not ideal, but changes in rhythm can also throw off some players. The speed is greatly increased when comboing it out of a straight. Its animation seems, in my experience, to afford it a slightly longer range than the standard roundhouse. I find it functions better when thrown moving forward or while angling off to the side than the standard roundhouse. I particularly like to throw it from a slip straight position. We've added more round kick variants, but what we really need is the ability to attack from another angle to punish the duck counter. The axe kick is an uncommon kick in real fighting that only a few can use to real effect in the cage. The axe kick is a tremendously useful weapon, however, in UFC 5. What makes the axe kick so useful is that it is a downward linear kick that will punish fighters for ducking in anticipation of a roundhouse. It doesn't lose effectiveness at close range in UFC 5. It has a similar function to a front kick in this game. However, the axe kick can be comboed out of a straight, unlike the front kick, which combos with nothing. Kicks have the disadvantage of having two ranges at which they can fail, too far and too close. Punches only have to worry about being too far. And your opponent will often start punching in response to your straight punch if you kick too predictably. What we need is a kick that can jam our opponent at close range and create a little space for us. I present to you the real secret sauce of the expanded triple attack, the rear body sidekick. Now, everyone and their mama has a lead body sidekick nowadays. I'm sure we're all familiar with this kick. Undeniably useful, but also easy to evade. The far more uncommon body sidekick unlocks multiple possibilities for the triple attacker. But first, a quick note on front kicks and side kicks. Body front kicks and side kicks serve a similar purpose. Both attack the body while pushing the opponent away and are useful distance management tools. Body front kicks track lateral movement well, but are easy to catch with the low block, which limits their effectiveness. The lead body side kick is almost as common as the teep and is harder to catch, but it can be evaded by simply circling away from the lead leg. The rear body side kick is very uncommon in the game, and in my experience is more useful. It can be evaded by circling away from the rear leg, but this circling pattern is less common in UFC 5, where most players want to take away the lead hand and encourage you to throw slower rear hand round strikes, which will run them into the sidekick. Even better, it also chains from the straight, which means that opponents that try to step in after your straight will thrust their belly right into your heel. This is not a heavily damaging weapon, but it is heavily annoying. If you've ever fought someone with great timing on this kick, you know how difficult it can be to close the distance. One downside is that very few fighters have it. Those that do will also have the lead body sidekick, giving you two ways to annoy your opponent, no matter which way they circle. Combining these 4 additional kicks with the triple attack leads to a more unpredictable kicking game that nevertheless all still works off the straight punch. Now we've got a pushing body kick, a linear head kick, and 3 variants of the round head kick to confuse our opponent along with our workhorse straight. Honorable mentions should be there for the side head kick and the hook kick, which also work off the straight. They're simply a little less useful in my experience. It's not hard to find a fighter with which to utilize the standard triple attack. All you need is a solid kickboxer with 2 things: a southpaw or orthodox with good switch stance, and at least 3 stars on the straight, body roundhouse, and head roundhouse, though 4 stars is preferred. However, if we want all the kicks from the expanded triple attack, we have a harder time finding our fighter. Now, you could easily get all these kicks in online career mode, though the head side kick and hook kick compete with the ducking roundhouse and axe kick respectively. I know which ones I'd take. But for the established fighters, we're not going to get everything we want. I think the most important kick is the body side kick, so I'll list a few fighters who have that and at least one more. John Jones has fast kicks, great switch stance, and the longest range in the game. He's got the body side kick and the question mark. Adesanya has elite kickboxing stats, perfect switch stance, and he has the body side kick, ducking roundhouse, and the question mark. Kevin Holland doesn't have great kicking stats, but he has solid switch stance and tremendous height for welterweight. He has the body side kick, the head side kick, as well as the hook kick. Marlon Vera has powerful kicks, good switch stance, and the chin to cover up your mistakes. He has the body side kick and the head side kick. But there are 2 fighters I know of with both a side kick and the essential axe kick. Rose Namajunas isn't the first fighter I'd think of for the triple attack, but she has good switch stance and solid kicks. Rose has the body side kick, the head side kick, and the axe kick. However, the ideal candidate for this strategy is Umar Nurmagomedov. Umar is a southpaw, but he also has great switch stance. Umar also has very fast kicks and good footwork. He's got the body side kick, head side kick, axe kick, and the question mark kick. Umar also has excellent wrestling, which means that if you show a willingness to shoot a takedown or grab a clinch, your opponent may be a little more inclined towards giving you space. Now you have the weapons. You know the limitations. You know the fighters to use. You're good to go. You can beat the standard meta players in UFC 5 with these tactics. I would like to tell you that. I'd like to tell you that you'll never die, that you'll never grow old. I'd like to tell you a great many pleasant lies. Truthfully, this is not the most efficient way to play the game, and it never will be. Good players are hard to head kick. Bad strikers generally prefer to be boxed up than to lose a kickboxing match. I'm not good enough at this game to devise a way to end the spam meta, and I'm not sure the absolute best are either. The game wants to be played in a certain way. The triple attack, applied sparingly, can win you online matches, but other tactics will win easier and faster. Life is about efficiency, getting the most out of your time and resources, optimization, rationalization. But this isn't real life. A game should be about play, fooling around, fucking about, expressing yourself, however pointlessly, through how you choose to play. Do you need to live forever in UFC 5? You can choose to forego efficiency. You can choose to make things difficult. You can choose excitement. Choose the way of Crow Cop.